Hi everyone, it's Victoria again. In my last video, I talked about how to use repeating items in Gavel to make your workflows much more responsive and flexible to how you want them to be. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can leverage the Word add-in in Gavel to customize your documents. So if you're familiar with the Word add-in already, you know that there already is a pre-built way to format repeating items. So you can see down here, in this list, you have a variety of different options that Gavel has helpfully provided. And what I want to encourage you to do is not to feel like you're limited by these options. I know there is a whole range of them, but I know also that people want to be able to customize their drafting documents to make your clients feel that you've created a custom, tailored piece of work for their legal situation. So what I have here is I have this sample document. It's pretty bare bones, I understand that. And in the first item, it says here that the client lives at this address. There's a space missing there. And their children also live at this address. And maybe you want to list out the children's names and their date of birth, and you want that to fit seamlessly into your sentence so it appears very natural. So instead, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a list of my repeating item for children, names and date of birth, and I'm just using this to grab the code that I need. So right here where it says their children, what I'm going to do is put a comma here for item and children. I'm just copying and pasting in that code. And to adjust it, what I'm going to do is, and I can actually type in whatever I need to in the code for that repeating item. So now what this says is client name lives at their address, their children, and then for each child, it's going to list out their name, born on, and for, meaning that as soon as that repeating item is finished, it's going to stop and continue on with the sentence, also live at this address. So that's one way to do that. So it's a seamless drafting of the legal document. And let's say, for example, you have a pre-built table into your document template. For example, over here, we have the address that the client lives at and the approximate value of their home. But let's say also that you need to list out other valuable property that the client has and you've already gathered it in a repeating item, for example, vehicles. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert in 3 rows. Just as I would as if I had manually gathered that information, I'm going to plug that in. And I'm actually going to go over here to the repeating item add-in and click on Format as Table. Again, I'm grabbing those attributes. Missing ones, and let me refresh that. I believe it should have value as well. Let's try that again. Where did value go? There we go. Now we have all of those. Sorry about that. I'm going to insert in the code. Okay. And again, I'm just using this as a sample or as a springboard point. I'm not going to use this table, but I can edit this table if I wanted to, and I can show you how to do that in a second. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in this TR for item and vehicle, and that just tells Gavel to input in your repeating item as a table. And I'm going to plop it into my pre-existing table. I don't need to worry about merging these cells because, as we know from experimenting in Gavel, this code is going to be basically invisible. You're not going to see it in that output document. So under property description, I'm going to put in the make, model, and year. Oop. I want those curly braces too. And just like I did above, I'm just going to add in some commas to make sure that it looks presentable. Value here. Now, one thing you might want to know is that even though Gavel has a currency field in its regular workflow question options, in repeating items, that field is not yet available. So I am going to have to do that to make sure that it outputs in as a formatted currency. And then again at the bottom, I'm going to add in my TRN4. So the nice thing again about repeating items is I don't need to worry about how many items are going to be in my repeating item gathered by my repeating item and then having to put in a row in this table for each and every one of those iterations. It's going to automatically do that for me as needed for the repeating item. And there you have it. I can delete this table version and it's going to seamlessly join in with my pre-existing table. So what if I want to reformat a table that Gavel already has? I'm going to do a vehicle again. There we go. For example, maybe I don't want these vertical columns. I want to have rows instead to display that information. I can easily do that by manipulating this table as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert in some rows. Because I need, let's see, 4 rows for all of that. And again, I'm just copying and pasting over that information. So this should be the make, this should be the model, this should be the year, this should be the value, and at the top, instead of this, I'm going to merge this. I can say vehicles. And I will say this code for the TR for item and vehicle does need to be its own row. I'm just merging these cells to make it more aesthetically pleasing. You don't have to do this. And I also personally am not a fan of the little gap between cells, so I can go into table properties and remove that. And there we have it. My own table that I've designed myself, and it's going to output the same way, where it's putting in all that information where I've showed it, and it's a seamless table, but I've designed that table instead. So that's sort of my quick and easy way to make your document much more customized, much more tailored to your client's situation, so it feels like a document that you've actually hand drafted, as opposed to something where you're just sort of plug and chugging variables. Even though you are doing that, you still want your clients to feel like you've gone the extra mile for customizing that document, and it's just a nice human touch. There you go. In my next video, I'm going to be talking more about repeating items, so feel free to follow along and subscribe. But thank you so much for watching.